Good evening and welcome to day 10. Now, J is for judgment. We're just going to talk about judgment today. That is the only thing because it's a huge subject. Now, you probably all know somebody that is very judgmental. They can always make a decision about somebody. And that's completely true. There are people out there who are very, very judgmental. However, you may consider yourself not to be judgmental at all, but that actually would be wrong because we all have something called unconscious bias. Now, unconscious bias is something that is built up in our minds from the day that we're able to understand what's going on around us in the world. And it's based on the values that our parents instill in us, the beliefs that our parents instill in us. So, for example, if you're brought up in a very religious family, you will have maybe different beliefs and values to a family who are atheist. And there are all sorts of different things, the social class that you're in, the type of work that your parents do, the level of education, all these different things will have an impact on your beliefs and values. And then you go to school and you start to layer up these beliefs and values as you go through life. And using these beliefs and values, you will start to make decisions subconsciously about people. For example, you might look at a picture of a Hell's Angel, and he's got his long beard and he's in his biker gear and he's covered in tattoos and he looks quite an intimidating character. But actually, you don't really know that person. You're just looking at them and making an instant judgment, and that's your unconscious bias. And you will judge people on what they look like, what they sound like. You will judge people on their CVs, for example. If you deal with recruitment, you will be making tiny judgments about people all the time that you're not even aware of. Now, something that has been a lot of research done in this area is that if you start to work on your emotional intelligence and you become more aware of your own emotions, the impact they have on you, but you also become more aware of other people and their emotions, there is a direct link between increasing your emotional intelligence and decreasing the level of unconscious bias that you have. You will start to be less judgmental subconsciously and more accepting of people, because really you don't know what's going on in other people. You know what's going on in you and what you see in the world, and that's something that we're going to talk about when we get to M a little bit more. But Deepak Chopra has a fantastic quote on this, and it says, "The world is a mirror for us. Whatever you say about others is actually how you feel about yourself." So just have a think about that. Whatever you say about others is really how you feel about yourself. So just have a think about the labels that you apply to other people, the thoughts that you have when you first meet somebody or you get an email from them. Do you like the sound of them? Do you like the look of them? Think about these things in life, because those are all tiny little judgments. And sometimes you might be applying the wrong labels or wrong assessments to people because you haven't really spoken to them and got to know them and found out what's going on in their lives. And also, sometimes you might get a response from somebody that's a bit different to usual, and you might judge them and go, oh, they're really grumpy today, or they're being really off with me, or they're being really whatever. You don't know what happened to that person. They might have had a row with their partner before getting to you. They might have been up all night with a sick child. They might have had a child with a temper tantrum at home. They might have had a bereavement in the family that you don't know about. Don't judge people on how they come across to you. If something doesn't feel quite right in their behaviour, why don't you ask them a question and find out why they've behaved like that, rather than making an instant judgment? So that's just a little insight into judgment and how increasing your emotional intelligence can actually reduce your unconscious bias and mean that you make less snap decisions about people and take more time to actually find out what's going on. So I hope you found that interesting, and I will be back for our next letter in my next live.